Hello, everybody. It's Paul Valencia from Clark County Today, Tony Liberatore from Vancouver Schools and Fort Vancouver High School.
Go Trappers.
And Cale Piland from all of Evergreen Schools. We are the Clark County Today Sports Podcast. And I went back. Did you notice, Cale? I went back to the normal order of things. Tony first.
You did, but I thought the last podcast was pretty solid. So, you're tempting fate. I mean, you don't mess with a streak, Paul, and this is twice you've done it now.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So, Cale is the athletic director for all of Evergreen Public Schools. Tony used to be an athletic director before he got demoted to an associate principal somewhere. That's the joke, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But these guys know so much. That we had to go into a different room, a different studio. You guys can't see this, but we had to get into it's a smaller room, and so they could barely fit into the door because their heads are so big, full of knowledge. Not overconfident, just full of knowledge. These guys are incredible.
Wow.
So, and we're going to need that knowledge today because we're going to go over the new football playoff format for Class 1A and 2A, which is going to be similar to what 4A and 3A have been doing, right? Similar?
Yeah, I don't know if everybody's on board, if everybody's opted into that.
Okay. We'll get into that. And so we're going to need your expertise on all that. We're going to have some fun with, I don't know if DQs or ineligible to play, just how different sports have different rules about some things. Something happened this spring that I think we'll just come up with a fun little conversation about who can play and when can they play it. But it's not like transfer rules or unsportsmanlike behavior. It's just weird things that sports have different rules. And we'll say I'll give a shout out to Brooklynn Haywood and then Glenn Flanagan at Woodland, new football coach. So, and of course we'll talk some Mariners. And I'm sorry, but we will talk Mariners because that's Northwest. That's Northwest professional sports.
I don't think my mic's working.
Okay.
It'll be a very short conversation after today.
Bad game.
Or the last couple of days.
Hey, you guys are still ahead of the A's. That's the bar, right? You got to be ahead of my A's.
I'm good taking the Angels this year.
Yeah, I think the Camas Papermakers are ahead of the Oakland A's at this point.
Probably. So, hey, let's start with the new football format for Class 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. Well, exactly. I'm not even sure it's new for 4A, 3A, but it kind of is. But let's see. So week 10, at least for 4A and 3A for the last couple of years, has been a lot of teams, 28 or 32, 28?
Well, for everybody, all of the 3As have participated. Not all of the 4As have.
Right. It's been like 28 teams?
Yeah, roughly so. But the 4As this next year, it will be 32.
Okay.
It'll be statewide.
So week 10 has been, everybody who makes the postseason from their leagues or districts, they play in these games, and you have to win week 10 to make it to state to the final 16.
Yes.
And now Class 1A and 2A are going to follow suit. And in our world, Class 2A, the USHL has always done the crossover with Evergreen? No.
EFCO.
Evergreen.
And then the Trico League for 1As also did district playoff games.
Yeah, I'm not certain that the 1As are statewide.
Okay, you're not sure?
I'm not sure that every district opted into that.
Okay. But
it's been on the table, and I know that they're still. In fact, they might still be talking about it.
Okay, but I think I talked to John Lambert today from La Center, and he thinks it's going to happen or is happening or whatever. But it's just going to mean that you're not crossing over with your district. So you might be La Center if they make week 10, which let's face it, they always make it to week 10.
Yeah. When was the last time they didn't?
Right. So
Clinton presidency.
So anyway, but. They won't be. They might be traveling, or a team from a long way will be traveling their ways, and it could be. And it's seeded. There will be committees for these things that will seed the week 10. Cale, tell me what you know about week 10.
Well, so week 10, and this just happened within the last couple of years, where it used to be that those matchups were predetermined as the WIAA bracket used to be, and those agreements have I guess evolved into following the WIAA seeding procedures, which is a seeding committee, and it's basically, I know for our leagues that have been involved, it's the same people that are on that committee, but the difference is because that round of 32 technically isn't a WIAA state playoff game. Right. They meet, they seed those 32, and then they meet the following week and seed the winners of the 32 down to 16, they reseed those 16 teams, whereas the WIAA bracket doesn't reseed after every week. So it can be challenging. It's challenging enough to seed a 16-team bracket. When you're seeding a 32-team bracket, when you're talking the difference between teams 26 through 32, there might not be a heck of a lot of difference. And so how do you determine where you're going to place those teams? So I know that's been – at that point in time, you're seeding teams with losing records. So there's a definite challenge within that.
And what's interesting about it is that there will be travel consideration. So you might have a 32 versus a 1, but the 32 is so far away, they might make a 29 the 32 or something, right? Because what I read, there will be travel considerations.
I think that'll be it might be a tiebreaker.
Okay. They'll have to do that.
But if 1 versus 32 says, Evergreen is going to go play Ferris, that's what's going to happen.
Right, and that'd be a long way.
That's having made multiple trips to Spokane in my coaching days. Yes, it's a long trip, and there's not a great way to do it.
7 Alaska flights daily.
Well, if you want to play a night game, that's a heck of a long day driving all the way over and back. And so every time we did it in the playoffs, we played an afternoon game, but we went over and stayed the night the night before.
Right,
which presents with high school kids presents its own challenges.
Right. So So Union of the Worlds could fly, but Evergreen would. No, I'm just kidding, Union Titans. I'm just kidding.
If you could see Cale's face when Paul said that.
That is exactly. Come on, Paul. Christmas.
Paul, come on.
I think.
What are you doing taking?
Cale took a shot at me last podcast. So
what are you doing taking shots at Union? We all know you only take shots at Skyview.
Yeah,
that is what you do on this podcast.
I was going to say.
I'm here to stick up for Skyview. They don't.
That's funny. That's great. So anyway, but the and I don't know if I hope I said it. I meant football. We're talking about football, high school football.
Yes,
we're not talking about
only.
any other sport.
Yep.
So, but in football, it's interesting is that you had talked about predetermined. The agreements of 4A and 3A used to be predetermined, and it came to the point of the 4A GSHL champion was good, and then whoever they played, we'll say the 10th team out of a 12-team league or whatever. I don't know what it was, but it was basically a bye.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, it changed, and our 4A GSHL champion lost in the Week 10 game for the first time in like 13 or 14 years. And so
they were also 5-4, but had played a very difficult schedule.
They played a difficult schedule, but because of their losses, it was basically it could have been like a 15 versus an 18.
Yeah.
And that's a close thing. But if you go 8-1 or 9-0, you're probably going to win the Week 10 game still.
You're going to get a very good seed against a team that you should be able to hold your own against.
Exactly. So Tony, your thoughts on
being out of the day-to-day, my question, I just want to clarify. After Week 10, they're reseeding?
They will reseed it because that is now the WIAA bracket.
Okay.
And so the WIAA has nothing to do with the 32.
Still don't.
No, they don't. They don't touch the 32. That is WIAA districts doing it on their own.
Okay.
All the WIAA cares is about just tell us who the 16 teams are and where you're seeding them.
Right. They give the allocations and you can figure out. And some districts could have said, no, we're not going to participate in this. We're just going to go with our allocations.
Yes.
But from what I understand, I think it was maybe 1A. I think it was 1A football where there's some district that just has all these incredible teams and only 2 of the 3 could make it to state under the old format.
Yeah.
And so this wasn't fair.
Well,
so
win your league.
Fair.
You got to win your league.
But so this happens, and it's cyclical in all sports across the state. But you will have, like we have right now in the GSHL 4A, we're a 4-team league, but in any given sport, our third-place team, or even sometimes our fourth-place team, could advance into a round of 16 if they were given the chance because the league is that strong.
Right.
So I don't know if it's recency bias on my part, but I've always believed we're going to crown a champion, and this is the state tournament. So in my mind, it should be the 16 best teams in the state, not equal representation from around the state to get into that 16-team bracket. So if Spokane has, for whatever reason, has 7 of the best girls basketball teams in the state of Washington, the 3 or 4 who don't get in shouldn't, in my mind, shouldn't be penalized. They should have a chance to play in that bracket.
Right.
So the more teams that we give this type of opportunity to, the more likely we are going to end up with the best 16, and then the best 8, the best 4, and the best 2 playing for the state championship.
So it sounds like you like this.
I am a proponent of getting the best teams the opportunity to advance, because it's really hard when we just base it off of the number of teams that are in a league. We leave some really, really good teams at home. And I'll go back to the late 90s. We've talked a little bit about the glue rule and whatnot, but in the late 90s, the 4A league down here only had one allocation. And this was before you could demand a glue. And Evergreen boys basketball team was number 1 in the state, and the Battleground boys, I think, were like 3 or 4. But only one of them was able to participate in the state tournament because we only got one allocation into the state tournament, and we didn't have any kind of by-district agreement that we had been able to negotiate. So I don't know how to me, that's not fair to those kids at Battleground who never got – they probably would have been a Final Four team in the state bracket, but they never got the opportunity because the league wasn't big enough.
Right. Tony?
Well, I was just going to ask Cale, then District 4 or just maybe more local, Clark County, how does that – I mean, you mentioned the 4A.
Yeah.
Could there be a scenario where all 4 4A teams made it to Week 10?
No. We won't drive enough allocations to be able to have
so
that
it's still
happen.
allocation based,
and it's still going to hurt the 3As I won't go into that lengthy discussion again. But the problem is so the 3As are supposed to have 20 team brackets.
Yeah.
So when you go from 20, when you go to 32. And you're not going to do that. You're not going to run a 20-team bracket for football. So the math doesn't work very well for 3As. So our 3As will continue 16. To have a lower mathematical chance of entering into the postseason than our 4As will.
And I told you guys that I would be saying, well, let's just ditch this Week 10 stuff too anyway and just go straight to a 32-team tournament because it kind of is, but it's just not.
Well,
state,
it is.
It is.
Let's be honest. It is.
There's no coach in the state that says we didn't qualify. We didn't make the postseason, right? Which I guess technically it is.
Loser out. That's how I would determine the postseason as a loser out game.
Absolutely, and to kind of piggyback on what you're talking about, Paul. So we talk a lot about allocations and what's fair in across the state, and I wish we would go to 32 and everything. To be honest with you, some form of 32 and everything, because again, my whole motivation is I want the 16 best teams, and I want those kids that deserve to have that from a performance base. This is varsity high school athletics. I mean, it isn't intramural sports, and we're trying to get the best teams and reward the best teams. And I think about coaches who, if we hadn't been able to enter into a bi-district agreement for girls basketball, and we only got one allocation out of here. I mean, there are 3 other head girls basketball coaches in the 4A that would have been like, we got to beat the state champion to qualify for the state tournament.
Right.
Even though we might be one of the 16 best teams in the state. I mean, that's pretty hard. And, parents aren't always super reasonable when it comes to thinking that their kids are good enough to play in the postseason. So I feel for our coaches with this. So I think it's just better for everybody. The more teams we get into the postseason, the better.
Yeah. And I know that the WIAA was going to say, well, we got to have the same amount of teams at state in all the sports equal. But I always tell people football is not equal. They get 9 regular season games or 10.
Yeah.
There's not another team sport that only has that few games. Basketball has 20. Soccer is it 16 or something
16.
like that?
Yeah.
I mean, almost everybody gets more games. So to me, it's like, why not add one more game to the football for the postseason? And I don't think you can argue that, by making it a 32-team tournament, that's unfair to the basketball teams or the baseball teams. Well, it's unfair you guys get 20 games. Football is that's what I'm meaning at, is every sport is different, and we're going to go into that with different disciplines for situations for each sport. But,
no rational coach or administrator or it should be fan would go, we deserve to be in the round of 16 who lost in the round of 32.
Right.
You lost on the field. right?
Yeah.
You had a chance to win a game in advance, and you didn't do it.
Right.
So you got to live with that.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun. But it is it's a new change for high school football coming up, and I like it. I like the fact that if you don't have a great regular season, but you still win the league title, you're probably going to get a home game. That they did put that an emphasis on your league champion, just like Camas did a few years ago, even though they had a tough non-league schedule and lost a few games. But I love the fact that depending on that seed, it's not an automatic just because you won a league title. So you still got to win the game.
Absolutely, you do. Yep.
And that'll be cool. Let's see what else. What else going on? We got. Speaking of unequal, there are different rules for different sports, and for what eligible for. And I don't mean eligibility on transfers and stuff that's off the field, but
You're talking about we get you disqualified.
yeah, getting you disqualified. There's something I promise you, I'm not going to mention the schools because I don't want to embarrass or call out anybody because it doesn't seem like anyone broke any rules actually, or there was just an accident. There was a track and field meet that had 3 teams in it, and one team forgot to list the entries for one event. And when the schools got there for the meet, hey, where's your event on, I don't know, event A. I don't even know what event it was. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, I forgot. And they ended up getting together and deciding, let's just write them in right now. But one coach from one of the teams was like, no, that's not how this goes. And I thought it was weird. And I wanted to know, I wanted to ask you guys what that was. And you told me what the NFHS rule was. So, Cale, what was that rule for track and field? I'll finish the story of what happened.
Well, basically, your games committee or your meet management determines when your entries are supposed to be entered. Mm-hmm. And it used to be that those were entered when teams showed up because we did everything by hand on paper on triplicate, right? And then we had to hand those back, and then people were trying to send those results in, and you've got the third copy, and it's chicken scratch, whatever. But now everybody does everything on computers, and there's a program called athletic.net where coaches will enter their people, their contestants into that. And I don't, without knowing the specifics of this story, my guess is a coach was entering some people in an athletic.net and he just missed an event, right? And so now you've got everybody else has entered everybody prior to the meet, and it can get even a little stickier because sometimes our schools now will contract out with USA Track and Field, and they will have them come and score the event. Mm-hmm. And if they're the ones that are doing it and you didn't get it in time, that can cause some problems there too.
So in this case, it was a regular season track and field meet. Nothing is on the line. There's no postseason. And I think cooler heads prevailed, and they said, "Oh, let's just write it up now." And I believe everyone competed that day. But one of the coaches, I was told, wasn't happy with that. I was like, that's kind of not fair to us who did it or whatever. And I don't, in the SOP. But it just got me thinking about all the other rules. And I was thinking in baseball, if you're a shortstop, you walk to the field, you're told you're going to be a starter, but your coach accidentally put somebody else in as shortstop as the starter. So that means you don't start, but it doesn't mean you don't play. And football, if your knee pad is not covering the knee, the official will send you off the.
They can send you off for any kind of reason, but
they can send you off for an equipment or whatever. But you can come back in as soon as you cover up your knee with the knee. It just blew my mind that in track and field you can actually an adult coach could just make a mistake, and I don't know how many there's. When you include boys and girls, there's 26 events or whatever, and you're going down the list, and you might skip over the 23rd event, and I can't believe they're ineligible to play that day, and it just blew my mind, and I thought it's a fun discussion about other sports. Tony?
Well, I think in that track specifically, and Cale sent us the NFHS rule, and I think the key there that I would, I'd probably call a couple other ADs, and it would be the games committee, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, just for a standard home meet, what would the games committee be?
Well, I can tell you,
it would be the head coaches, right?
Well, when I was the AD, I was the one running the track meet, so it would have been me.
Okay.
Right. Ultimately, the home AD.
As the home AD. And
for a regular season meet, what would you have done? Do you know? I'm putting you on the spot. I don't mean to.
No, you can put me on the spot. I'd put the kids in the meet.
I would have let them run too.
This isn't the postseason. This is
that's what I was going to say because I was, and Cale does it all the time. I mean, Evergreen hosts district track meets all the time. Very, very, very specific.
Mackenzie Stadium is a great place for a track meet.
Very specific deadlines for
Now that's a different animal because
Right.
that's the district track meet and you're qualifying for the regional
Right.
meet and you're moving on. But
Yes.
if it's a Tuesday afternoon and
it's the third heat of the 100.
I mean
Paul, you can run.
We're gonna do what's right for kids in my
Right.
mind at that point. I mean, and it's not like you're gaining. I suppose if you really wanted to argue it from the other side, you could say, well, we all had put our stuff in there, and then I pulled my kid out because they weren't going to run this kid, or I
Right,
moved some
right.
kids around to gain a competitive advantage, and
Yeah.
now they're – well, then you know what? I would say then if you want to put your kid back in, put your kid back in. I mean,
right.
this is a league or in some cases a non-league track meet. I mean, let's half the time in those meets anyway, it's 50 degrees and it's raining sideways and the wind's blowing. I mean,
Right.
and no one's getting great times anyway. And
Fourth
so,
Tuesday in March.
Yeah.
So- but it reminded me of like golf. All three of us golf. I'm guessing just from Facebook, Cale's the best golfer in the bunch, just because it seems like
I might play more than
You
you.
play-
It doesn't mean I'm
No,
better
you're the
than
best golfer.
anybody.
It's okay. You're the best golfer. I have no problem admitting that.
So, but anyway, and I love that the rules are the same for me and Tiger Woods. That's what it's supposed to be. Even though, of course, maybe some of us take mulligans. I haven't taken a mulligan in a long time. I just hit a bad shot and swear.
You play like six or seven balls. That's
Well,
why.
it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because they're going to they're fixing the equipment. Like they're gonna unjuice the equipment, I guess, if you will. And there is this argument within golf as to whether or not that should just pertain to PGA golfer. Like
Right.
the ball I should be able to play should be different than the ball that Tiger Woods should be able to
Exactly.
play. But there's also people that argue on kind of in the same vein that you're arguing the rules. Like, no, the same rules that apply to Tiger Woods as far as his equipment apply to Paul Valencia when he's gonna, try to rip it 310 off the first tee.
Had a kid, 310. That's 4 shots for me.
I haven't seen 310 in 15 years.
Wait, what are we talking about?
We're not talking 310 in the morning because I know that's not true.
That's not true.
You've been driving a car at 310 in the morning
I'll
coming back from a Raider game. I know
yes,
that.
I'll drive anytime. Yes, but like in a high school event, if a freshman signs an incorrect scorecard.
Yep.
Now in golf rules, let's say shoots a 72 and he signs for a 73. Well, then you get a 73. And that's not so harsh. But if you sign for a 71 and you shot a 72, you're DQ'd. You don't get to just say, okay, give a penalty shot to a 73. You're just done. And
Right.
it's such to me, it seems like a harsh penalty for a young person.
It is, and what can be even harsher about it. So both my kids golf, and my daughter got the chance to play. She played in regional tournaments multiple times. They played in the state tournament. Union qualified as a team last year. And you don't keep your own card, right? So somebody in that group that you have never met before is keeping your card, and they will ask each other, hey, what did you get? And well, now we're talking about another teenager having to take the score that you told me and write it down correctly, and they might be ticked because they double bogeyed a hole or whatever. And if they get it wrong, now it's very hard to catch because ultimately, so when she would have to sign her card, she has to go back through it and say, yep, that's right, and then she signs it. Well, the only way you're going to get caught is if somebody else in your group says, you didn't shoot this, I had you at this.
Right.
Which I don't know. You can
I've seen it. We've all seen it happen at the high school.
You want to have a conversation about this. We can get a high school golf coach in here and talk. There were times that I knew I was watching, and a girl would say that she got a 7, and I'm like, no, she got an 8. Yeah. But I'm not saying it. One, you can't talk to him anyway, right?
That's
but
another thing, yes.
I mean, you're there. I'm going. So not that I want to get into the underbelly of high school golf and cheating on scores, but it does happen.
But my point, though, is that it's just, this track thing that happened in Southwest Washington this year, and it's like, one coach was like, I just can't believe that you show up to a track meet and you might be ineligible because of a clerical error while signing up for things. And it just reminded me of all the different sports have different rules, and that's okay. But pretty much, in baseball, if you're not in the starting lineup, you just don't play the first inning. Or in basketball, same thing. If if they put someone else as a starting lineup, okay, Cale, you're not starting, but you're probably going to go in on the very first whistle. You're not
first dead ball.
Or if I put the wrong number, if Paul, you're number 5, and I put you in as number 2,
it might be a technical foul.
It's a technical foul.
So you might lose 2 points, but you're not going to. You're not. No, you can still play in the game, and it just blew my mind that the possibility of that track meet. Again, I think cooler heads prevailed, and they allowed him to compete. But I thought it was. I had to bring it up because it's just so funny to me that it was even possible that you lose a competition based on that. So, let's see. Anything you want to add, Tony, on that?
No, I'm good.
All right, we're good. All right. Hey, I've been following a lot of. On social media, I've seen Brooklynn Haywood. She's playing for a club team and just kicking butt. I've seen that a lot. I guess she's a sophomore right now. To me, because basketball season's over, so it's like, is she already a junior? No, she's a sophomore from Union High School, and she's got I think it's Utah and Oregon and North Carolina. She's gotten offers in the last week or two, and I just thought, that is so impressive, and I just wanted to make sure we give a little shout out to that. I mean, who knows? She's only a sophomore, so who knows where she's going to go? But it just reminds me of how rare it is in Southwest Washington to have a player of that talent getting this kind of attention so soon. And then I was, it reminds me of Ashley Corral, who ended up going to USC. She's from Prairie, and now she's a teacher, a coach, has her own academy. Mm-hmm. She does a great job around here. But I can't think of anybody who's had this much attention and offers
after only their sophomore year.
After only their sophomore year in Clark County. And can you guys think of? I mean,
boys, maybe. We go way back.
I'm trying to think, but I don't even
like Duke Wallenborn after sophomore year. Maybe
he didn't have. No, I don't know. I mean, I was just a kid watching him at that time. But
right.
What about? I just had played for the Blazers. Dickow.
I mean, we can say Zach Gordon, Dan Dickow when they were playing together.
Yeah. I don't know after sophomore year though.
Yeah.
That's
right. I mean, that's
because those guys.
It is impressive. And then of course we just had possibly the greatest women's college basketball season of all time. As far as interest, it was. Sure. I mean, we have so much talent, and Paige Beckers is like, because she got injured, she's like, who's Paige Beckers? Well, she was the best player before she got injured, before Caitlin Clark Jr.
Right.
And then they make it was just such an incredible tournament, and women's basketball is on fire right now. And now we have one of the best players in the nation in her age group right here in Clark County, and I think that's pretty cool. But I will ask, I mean, forget we don't have a whole lot of people to compare to as far as, what we call Power 4. Are we calling them Power 4 conference now?
It is
because
Power
there's
4.
no Power 5 anymore after this year.
No,
so we got Power 4 offers for the sophomore. And then as a head coach, Cale, in football, you didn't have anybody who had that many offers at Evergreen, did you?
Could they even offer it football sophomore?
I certainly never had a sophomore offer.
Well,
even when I had kids that ended up playing Division I.
Great. It was Eastern Washington. Great Peach played years of professional football.
Yep. Taylor Rank went to South Carolina.
And that was but
and then
what about that big tight end? Was that yours? Willie?
Willie Walden, he was there when I was an assistant.
But as a coach, how do you? I mean, it's kind of weird. I know from connections you can reach out to some of the smaller colleges, and so many people in the Northwest, and you can help out the people who aren't Power 4. You can, hey, how about I introduce you to this coach? Hey, I think this kid is really good and would fit your program. But when you have someone that good, what does the head coach do? You just kind of like.
You don't really have to do.
You don't have to do anything.
No,
right?
That's a. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. I mean, you're getting offers when you're a sophomore. You're certainly not getting offers based off of what you've done during the high school season.
Right.
You're getting those offers based off of what you're doing in the club circuit. And,
right.
Yeah.
Brooklyn's doing awesome.
I venture to guess that there weren't scouts from North Carolina or Utah in the Union Gym this summer or this past winter. I mean, right. So they're seeing they're seeing her other places
at the club. So yeah. But anyway, congratulations and best of luck to you moving forward. And they just got a decision to make, but you don't have to make it for a long, long time.
No, you've got quite a while.
That's pretty.
And you'll probably get more offers.
Pretty incredible. Hey, what do we call it? The football, the domino effect of all the football coaches changes. So we have a new football coach at Woodland. So Glenn Flanagan, who's the longtime girls basketball coach at Woodland, and I think he's been an assistant coach with Woodland football. I don't know. How long has Woodland existed?
This is true. The Flanagan family.
My mom went to Woodland High School, and she's X years old, so it's been a while.
Yeah. Glenn, I know you're not that old, but I know you've been Yeah, man, wow. Well, there's a lot of great names associated with Woodland Athletics, but the Flanagan name is a huge name. So congratulations, Glenn, on that. That's a task, though, because I think he's going to try to do both football and basketball.
Oof. Boy, I did it for 2 years, but I was the varsity assistant boys basketball coach at Evergreen when I was the head football coach, and I had no kid. I guess it's the same. Like his kids are already graduated and gone.
Was that with Triplet? No.
Greg Brown was the head coach.
Okay, I remember. Yeah. Okay.
So
I do not remember you being an assistant coach.
Yeah, I'd been an assistant with Triplet, but then when I left and went to Juanita and took the head job, obviously I didn't coach, and then I came back and Triplet was still the head coach, and I didn't coach, and then Greg got the head job. And asked if I'd be his varsity assistant, and I was like, "Well, you realize I'm going to have to miss some stuff," right? And he was good with that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it wasn't the first part of the season that got me. It was after Christmas. It was like you're kind of going off of adrenaline, and you're running in from one season to the next, and then but you'd get done after winter break, and I'm just like, holy cow, this takes forever.
Tony, you were an assistant coach for many, many years. Did you ever do back-to-back seasons?
No, I never coached high school basketball.
Okay, so you didn't do a winter sport at all.
No.
Okay, but Cale, I didn't even know that about you, or I just don't remember. Maybe I blocked it out.
I wasn't the head coach, so you didn't care, Paul.
That's
you only
true.
care about the head coaches.
That is true. Gosh, that's funny. So, all right, let's see where we can go. Move on over to pro sports and. What do you want to do? Do you want to do baseball or football first? They don't want to do baseball at all, do they?
Do you want? I mean, I will say this. I think so. If we're going to talk baseball, the M's they were on a pretty good run.
Yep.
And then they finished up their series today in Minnesota, and they've just had two back-to-back just big time clunkers. And I got to say, I think it's affecting Tony's performance on this pod.
I would agree with that. Right now I'm looking at they're a game and a half behind, only 2 games up on Oakland.
Yeah.
So the A's.
But the last time we had a podcast, I thought the Mariners were in first place, and we had declared the season over. With their pitching, they're done.
You had declared the season over.
Oh, okay. You guys didn't believe?
But your Oakland A's are competitive.
Yeah, they're competitive. It's
legitimately.
It's
bullpen.
It's major league.
It is major league.
Yeah,
a little bit.
It's just
now they have a male owner though, so I don't think that there's going to be a cutout in the locker room.
I hope not. But hey, it's the 2020s. Anything can happen, Cale.
That's true.
And you
that's
know
true.
what? There's nothing wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
Whatever motivates him to get the pennant.
Exactly. But that would be pretty embarrassing for Major League Baseball if the A's made the playoffs. It's never going to happen. But we had
imagine if the A's beat the Mariners like last week of the season.
I'm going on Sunday for Mother's Day.
Oh, nice.
And
cool.
They're playing the A's.
They're playing the A's?
They're playing the A's.
Yeah. Guaranteed win day, right? Well, maybe.
Well, who knows now?
I went. This is what early '90s. I saw Griffey hit a triple on Mother's Day.
Wow!
Because post game, he said, "This is for my mom." It's like his first triple of the year or something.
Hey, maybe Julio will do something like that.
Gosh. Here we go.
Gosh, ouch.
Besides strike out, okay.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
he's striking out for his mom.
Wow.
Then he really loves his mom, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he says 35% K rate. I love you, Mom.
Yeah. maybe his mom was a pitcher.
Hey, did we talk about pro sports that the NFL did adopt a UFL kickoff?
I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast. I'm gonna love it.
And here's what I was talking about today with a guy at work. He said that they're pulling and you got the power return kickoff.
Yeah, it's gonna drastically change it.
It's going to be awesome
pulling guards. And
remember, I go to a lot of games, and it's no fun to just watch the kickoff go out of bounds every time. It just so.
Well, but here's the other thing too.
Not out of bounds, but through the end zone for a touchback out of bounds. That's what I mean.
Yes.
I don't know, guys. Bill Belichick was talking about this it might have been around the draft.
That's who I heard too.
But basically, it's going to drastically change roster construction,
right?
Because you don't cover kickoffs in the same way anymore.
Right.
You'd have guys that would make the team just to cover kickoffs. And it's going to, even on your kick return, it changes the type of bodies you want. On both sides of the kickoff return, the type of bodies you want out there is drastically different now.
Right. But there's going to be a chance at returns. I love that part of it. And hey, I mean, yeah, if I could snap my fingers, I'd make it just go back to the old style and just have regular kickoffs. But that ain't happening. With the safety and the studies that they do, and let's face it, it's like. You guys are going 20 miles per hour for 40-yard head start, hitting guys that are just standing there. That's pretty much what a kickoff is. And now I will say this. Now, so the onside kick, there'll be no more surprise onside kicks because you have to announce it, and then you go back to the way they've been doing it. I wouldn't, if it's not a surprise, then I would like to go back to the old ways of doing it, where you can get a little bit of a running start,
right?
And you can spread out a little bit more. And yeah, it is a dangerous play, but you know what? They're professional football players. It's dangerous. Right. It's supposed to be dangerous.
And speaking of the onside, week 1 of the UFL, I was at a local restaurant and they had it playing. And there was a fourth quarter comeback.
Yeah.
I can't even remember who was playing. But they did instead of onside, they did is it 4th and 15?
Is it 4th and 17 or 4th and 12? It's something like that.
Whatever.
I think it might be 4th and 17.
They converted. And then end up winning. I like that.
See, I hate that. And I can tell you why.
Okay.
Because in the NFL, and I'm not saying that some quarterbacks get more calls than others, but
you are.
But they do.
Okay.
I cannot stand the beyond 5 yards. I've touched you on your hip. When the quarterback is looking at a receiver 25 yards away from you, and you get that 5-yard penalty being an automatic first down. And until the NFL gets consistent on what is a penalty and what is not,
that's fair.
I do not want anyone getting a 4th and 17 onside kick. Onside kicks are tough. Now, they should be a little easier than 4%, but I like 0 to 10%. But I think 4th and 17 for some of these elite offenses, when the defense can't breathe on anybody, could be more than.
Are you referencing Patrick Mahomes?
Sometimes. Yeah, but hey, let's be honest. In the regular season, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs did get a lot of calls go against them that were like, where did that call come from? Right. And it's of course, as a Raider fan, I'm supposed to say, well, yeah, they call bad calls against Patrick Mahomes in the regular season, so everyone can say, see, it's not just against the, but then in the playoffs they give them the championship for I don't know, whatever. That's
why even play the game?
Yeah, why even play the game? No, but no, seriously though. You're
starting to sound like Rick Carlisle.
Was it? Did the Chiefs? No, but did the Chiefs beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl the year before, right? And remember that was a penalty, but it was also a real cheap penalty.
But
it wasn't. But now it's like 4th and 17. You've scored a touchdown. You got within 7, and now it's 4th and 17, and you're going to call a little tap on the hip. Well, at least in that case, it was the intended receiver. But I'm talking about somebody taps somebody on the hip 7 yards downfield when the quarterback's looking the other direction, to the right when this happens on the left, and it just until that's consistent, I'm not going to enjoy that at all. So, but I love onside kicks, and I would like it to go back to the old style of onside kicks. But
one of the biggest moments in Seahawk history,
big time.
If they wouldn't have beat the Packers, and they wouldn't have beat the Packers without getting an onside kick,
right,
then the interception in the Super Bowl never happens.
Right, that's true. But the onside kick though I think that was the old style onside.
Oh, it was
kick.
absolutely it was.
You had more of like an 8 to 12% chance of actually recovering.
But I think in the way that one unfolded. Because a guy went after the ball that probably shouldn't have gone after it still would have worked in the new rules.
True.
That one would have, but who knows? I mean, you put the fear of God though into those frontline guys because they know they're just going to get blown up.
Yeah.
So who knows?
And I just, like I said, it would, but it's still a dangerous sport. They all know they're playing a collision sport, and if it's not a surprise, then let's, I don't know, maybe we'll go back.
Let's put it back. Let's put the old rule back in, but the Raiders have to sign Paul for $1 a game, and all he does is he's on the onside, the hands team.
I would do that.
Hands team. I would.
You have to be in the front row of the hands team.
But I get to see the game from the sideline. I get to watch until the actual play.
No, they got to call you down.
Okay,
they got to call you down.
I'd still do it. I still do it. Right now, I'm paying a lot more than $1 a game to watch the thing.
Well, that's true.
So
that's
they're
true.
going to pay. They're going to give me a refund to get on the field.
Yeah, but if they Paul,
I also have the best hands in the NFL.
But you wouldn't be. You wouldn't. The ball's going to go past you. You're supposed to take the hit from the guy that wants to blow you up, so his other buddy can go get the ball.
That's true.
He would still do it, but the first onside kick.
Old. That would have to live for.
That would be the last week we ever had a podcast. The podcast would be over, Paul. All of our fans. Think of our fans.
That's true.
See, I love these sports arguments because you see them every once in a while. They'll pop up on Twitter, right? Especially during college football, the big bowls, right? There's two of them that I'm going to reference here. One, Alabama would totally beat ex NFL team that's 1 in 15. I know, but I love when people started. And then this year it was with Georgia defense. They didn't high top 5 in the country. Could the Chiefs score on them? Could Kansas City Chiefs score on Georgia's defense, or how many would they score, or whatever? I replied back and I said they would score every time,
every possession,
possession.
Yes,
if they had the ball 7 times, they would score 7 touchdowns.
Exactly.
Speaking of college football, did you see this? They are contemplating allowing bowl games to have payouts to players to encourage them to not opt out of the game.
I did see that, and I like that. I'll be honest, I do too.
Hey,
and it's not going to be a ton. They'll go like, "Here's your Xbox."
Yeah, well, they were already getting their swag bags. So however you want to. I mean,
you win the game. Here's $20,000.
Yeah.
If you lose the game, you get $5,000. But if you show up, you're getting money.
You got to finish the
whatever
game.
it is. Sure. Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be interesting.
The other thing, NFL wise, is look, Super Bowl weekend Sunday is an unofficial national holiday. Anyways, did you see that they are proposing to go 18 weeks, so 2 buys, and then the Super Bowl would always be on President's Day weekend.
Yeah,
I would love that.
I would love it too. I know players may not love going 18 games, but
no, it's 18 weeks. It's 2 buys.
Oh no, it's one more game and 2 buys. Yeah,
right.
So, but yeah, they didn't like going to 17 games, so I'm guessing the Players Association would be upset about it, but. That's why there's CBA negotiations, and they'll figure it out, and the players will be paid accordingly. So
I was going to say, there's only more money to be made.
Yeah, So I would love that. I'd love that idea.
That's a great idea.
Anything that
I would too.
Anything that adds the football season another 2 weeks, because even though there's an extra bye, but there's still going to be an extra week.
There'll still be a game.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then that just means 1 or 2 less weeks of hell that I go through every off season. So,
do you ever go to mini camp and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. In fact,
right?
I talked to the Raiders today. What is the date today? This is we're recording this on May 9th. Yeah, my Raider rep called me today because I had a question for him, my ticket rep. But the Raiders might be doing training camp instead of in Henderson at the team headquarters. They might be going to Southern California.
I saw that.
To go hang out with the LA Raider fan base. And so I called to say, hey, will season ticket holders still get a chance? And it's not official yet, so he can't say yes. But yeah, I've gone to training camp in Napa when they were the Oakland Raiders. That was awesome. And then last year we got to go to Henderson, and that was fantastic.
Was Napa the one where it's at like basically a middle school?
Yes, it's at a middle school. It looks like a middle school, and it's crazy. The first time I parked there, I thought, I can't be in the right place. I'm parked in a middle school parking lot. California breezeways everywhere, because that's all they have. They don't, it doesn't rain there. So and then you walk, and you get to the field, and it's like the 2 NFL fields and this middle school must love it.
I was going to say that
Raiders are there for 3 weeks a year, and then they get this NFL
That's pretty
NFL
cool.
field at the so now of course they're gone and now. But Henderson was awesome. But yeah, we're planning if they do go to Southern California, it's 20 minutes from Disneyland, so we're going to training camp.
Oh, training camp, right?
And we'll go to training camp for a day and then Disneyland a day. That would be awesome.
That's Paul's dream vacation.
Exactly.
And you hit in and out both days. There
absolutely.
you go.
Yeah. You can't go a podcast without talking about in and out now. That's funny. Hey, one more thing though, NFL draft. Lincoln Victor did not get drafted, but he did apparently sign with the Denver Broncos. And that was the first time I've ever said anything kind of positive with
about the Broncos.
About the Broncos. So yeah, so I because I love Lincoln Victor that much, but it was hilarious. The day before the draft, I texted him and said, if you become a Chief Charger or Bronco, I will always support you, but I'll never be rooting for your team. and he responded, he understands. So,
right.
Yeah, gotcha. So, but
Boy, I tell
Lincoln
you,
Victor of Union High School, good luck to you. With
all the best in life.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And he's gonna do well.
I think he's gonna make it. I think he's gonna make the team.
But it just dawned on me, Tony, if we were still in the old AFC West days, this podcast would have a very different tone to it.
I've thought about that before.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome.
It would be. Yeah,
imagine the 2 weeks a year.
Oh my
or a
goodness.
season that the
But
Seahawks
you guys-
play the Raiders.
But you guys would be 2-14 every year, right? You had to go to the NFC to get good, right?
No. We won the AFC West.
I know. And the last time the Raiders won the Super Bowl, you beat us twice. Now, the third time we matched up, you guys didn't really show up, but that was just the AFC Championship game. Yeah, we understand.
Hey,
but
Marcus had a great game.
yes, he did. So,
Dave Craig did not.
He did not.
but yeah, you did beat the Super Bowl champion Raiders twice that year.
Yeah.
Just not third time.
And
it
we
would've
won't
been
talk about Bo Jackson and the Kingdom and Bosworth and all that kind of stuff.
That's fun too.
Oh, gosh, that's the worst injury in sports history. Man, well, in my sports history, as
Well,
far as potential of what he could have been.
I think, yes. I think being more local, Sam Bowie and Greg Oden and even Brandon Roy, if you those hurt.
Yeah,
those
they
hurt.
hurt. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. But anyway, hey, always a fun 45 minutes with you guys. We didn't, spring sports have started. The playoffs have started, but in the next couple of weeks, 2 weeks from now, we'll probably know.
There's some district
what's
finals
going
this
on.
weekend.
Yeah.
There were like 2 ways for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's Union and Camas are playing tonight.
They're playing, on May 9th. They're playing. Winner goes to state, and then the loser still has a chance to go to state.
Saturday.
We're talking about soccer, boys soccer, and that.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's pretty awesome. Union and Camas playing to go to state.
And both are number ones in baseball. So Kelso and Camas both won, so they've already qualified for the state bracket. And I know the Evergreen. Boy, I know Evergreen had won their first round game. I didn't see the second round game, but
Anyway.
and I believe Battleground won too.
Right, and then softball really gets started next week because they don't have to start.
Yeah.
They can play.
No,
they can play 74
you can
games
do the whole
in 2 days.
thing in 2 days. Yeah, and get
Which is
knocked
just
out.
always so bizarre. With
It is bizarre, and then so next year softball state will be a week before baseball, right?
Yeah.
And so they will start a little earlier with their postseason. But anyway, that's
right.
for next year. Hey, take care, guys.
Thanks, Paul.